I don't know if you've noticed, but geese...
They're so cute!
So today we're going to sew this Goose Pacifier holder, one that saves nap time
and catches all those little dribbles.
For the terry fabric, I recommend choosing bamboo with small loops, which will make it easier to trace on. To make this Goose Pacifier holder really easy to sew, I designed a printable pattern. It's available in my online shop via the link in the comments. Let's start by cutting out the leg and beak pieces along the dashed lines. For the body, cut along the solid line, you will see why later, but first we are going to make the beak and the legs. Take your poplin fabric, wrong side up. On the right side, trace the outline of the beak and the goose's legs. I personally use friction pens, which disappear with the heat of an iron. Fold the fabric in half and pin it. Now stitch along the traced lines using a stretch stitch, leaving the base open so we can turn the pieces right side out afterward. For all the seams of this pacifier clip, shorten your stitch length to 1.8 mm for better precision. And don't forget to backstitch at the beginning and end of each seam. Next step, cut out the beak and legs, leaving a small margin about 5 mm, except at the base where you cut directly on the line, but without cutting your stitches, of course. Trim the corners before turning the pieces right side out. Give them a quick press with an iron. On the right side of one of the bamboo pieces, secure the body pattern with a few pins and trace all around it using long dashed lines. Then, snip and fold back the 6 long notches on the pattern. Also, pierce the eye marking right here. Before cutting out the body, transfer all these marks, including the small dot for the eye. Now we move on to the final assembly of the pacifier clip. Before pinning the pieces between the marks, pay close attention to their orientation. Let me show you. Here the beak is correctly positioned because its tip is pointing downward, okay? But here it would be upside down. For the legs, find the small side that should be facing to the right like this. Otherwise, the leg would be upside down. For the second leg, place it in the same direction, but don't stack it directly on top of the first one. Shift it slightly toward the belly to avoid too much bulk when sewing this area. All that's left is to fold and pin your ribbon. I recommend adding one last pin in the center to keep the ribbon from shifting onto the stitching line. Now place the second piece of fabric on top, right sides together, and pin everything in place. One last step before sewing, snip the small lines marking the opening area so you can transfer them to the wrong side of the fabric. Now, excluding this opening, stitch 5 mm from the edge. Before turning the pacifier holder right side out, trim all the excess fabric, leaving a small margin. Another very important point, clip all the curves. This is what will give you nice, smooth, rounded shapes once done. Now, let's move on to the eyes. I really took the time to come up with a method that gives you identical little eyes with no visible threads. Take some black thread, pass it through a large needle, and cut a doubled length of about 25 cm. Pass through the head, leaving half of the thread hanging out. Then guide the needle to the left like this, wrapping it once, twice, and insert it right next to the entry point. With your right hand, hold the needle halfway through, and with your left hand, pull the thread to tighten the loops around it. Then push the needle through to form the first eye. On the other side, simply tie 2 knots with the remaining threads. Then insert the needle back into the entry point to hide the thread between the 2 layers of fabric without going through the other side. Repeat the same process for the remaining threads. That's it, your goose has come to life. All that's left is to close the opening with an invisible stitch. If you enjoyed this pacifier holder project, a like would really help me grow my channel. And feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I'm here to help. Thank you for your trust.